What? Why are you shaking your head? You're welcome.
Welcome into another Tuesday night. It's Dynasty Points. It's a lot of fun being here every single week. It's something I look forward to. Never want to miss. Almost missed it this week, but didn't. So you're stuck with me. That being said, Jacob Sanderson, Ryan Heath, Lucas Gilbert. As always on the program, lots to get into. A lot of trade deadlines have passed, but what if that doesn't exist for you? What do you do? So we've got playoff team trade building tips, things we are and are not going to do, going all in. Is it real or not? Is it really just the biggest fallacy in fantasy football? And then rebuilding versus retooling here in the Big 2-5. Another thing for the Big 2-5 that we're going to dive just right into. Never thought in a million years this would happen, but Phillip Rivers is playing in week 15. Like, this is going to happen.
Maybe. I think so.
They're going to look what happens in like the first quarter of this game coming up. They're going to be like, Phillip, you might as well, right? Like you might as well get out there and see what happens.
I think he probably starts. I mean, well, first of all, here's the I don't know if you guys all know this. I'm going to be at this game. It's in Seattle. It's happening 2 hours from my apartment. I'll be there. I thought I was going to the JT versus JSN MVP showdown, like when I got these tickets like a month ago. It's now turned into a farce, but like I'm going to Seattle on Saturday. I'm going to be drinking with Gratch all night on Saturday night, and then I'm going to be at this fucking stupid game on Sunday. And like, I don't think it's going to go well, but like I would way rather watch Phillip Rivers try to be a legend than watch Brett Rippon. And I think Shane Steichen feels similarly. Like I'm just gonna completely like Mussolini this conversation and trample over everyone else's speech rights. But like, here's the lore. Like, I don't know if you guys are following all the tweets. First of all, Rivers played with Shane Steichen in San Diego. Steichen was his quarterback coach. He then became the play caller at some point during the Anthony Lynn era. They became very, very close during that time. And close enough, in fact, that when Phil Rivers retired, started coaching his son Gunnar in high school football, he was like, I don't really know how to call plays, but like, I'm going to call my best friend Shane Steichen and I'm going to learn about his offense. And they would have weekly calls so that Phil Rivers could run the Shane Steichen offense in high school football for the last several years. So he's been actively coaching this offense for several years. He knows it inside and out, played under it, coaches it. He apparently is in good enough shape to pass this workout. Why would he not play on Sunday? Really? Like what? Like, why would you go through all of this bullshit just to start Brett Rippon?
I'm just going to add some more, tweets that I've read. Apparently he destroyed our adult son, Drake May, in a throwing competition at some point before the draft. That was one I read with a couple of other quarterbacks. We are being sold the story that this guy can still sling it. He
can never sling it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
What arm strength? He never had arm strength to begin with. His entire career was built on the premise that arm strength and athleticism is not that necessary for quarterback play. So like,
same with ACLs.
What do you have to lose? Like,
yeah. I pulled up some of his like 2021, 2020 highlights right before the show.
No 2021. He retired in 2020.
January 9th, 2021 was his final game.
Sure.
Just let me be clear here. It doesn't it's not pretty. It's not aesthetic. I will say that. But yeah, you had the perfect comeback, which is he has never looked pretty. It's not supposed to look good. Like he can throw the ball kind of. It gets there most of the time. He actually, his final season had more EPA per play than Daniel Jones has this year, which is absurd to me. It was He was 8th best. It was ahead of Lamar Jackson that year. It was ahead of rookie or sophomore Baker Mayfield, whatever his good year in Cleveland was. Like he was kind of balling right before he went out. So I don't think it happens again, but good for him. I've been.
He's the only
TFO
quarterback
trying
to
to make
start a
fun of his
playoff
highlights.
game for the Colts post Andrew Luck.
He might have the chance again. I don't know. Tough.
Just got to win 2 of our last 4, buddy. We got a shot. Come on, Phil.
I don't. Man, Seattle's not easy to like go in there and.
Well, we're probably not winning that one, but here's the thing: you let them start in Seattle to work out the breaks, because the realistic path is finding a way to win 2 out of Houston, Jacksonville, and San Fran.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not very likely, but those are more likely, especially since 2 of them are at home, than at Seattle. So you just tell them, look, we're losing this game regardless, but like you fucking throw it 45 times, familiarize yourself with the offense, high pressure practice environment, just sling it around, see what works, see what doesn't, come on back home for Monday Night Football against the 49ers. We're going to be sitting with our relatives for a game night on Monday Night Football on December 22nd, watching Phillip Rivers do battle against the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, imagine that.
It's fun.
Actionable dynasty take out of this.
Pick him up.
If Phil Rivers, no, that's not the actionable dynasty take. The actionable take is if
You
Phil
wouldn't pick him up in a
Rivers.
Superflex Dynasty League?
No, sure, whatever. I'll pick anyone up in a
I don't know.
Superflex dynasty league.
I don't
that could
know
play.
if my leagues are down that bad at quarterback, and I am the.
Available on Sleeper?
I started Shador. I took Shador Sanders off my taxi squads in must-win games to get into the playoffs, and that was deemed like oh my god move for like you're really reaching. You really are the gross QB guy. That's Phillip Rivers is too gross for me, respectfully.
Wow.
I think the real actionable dynasty take is if Phil Rivers gets 2 wins for the Colts in the next 4 weeks, Anthony Richardson's never getting a chance to start in the league anywhere ever again. I think teams are going to look at that and
He turned himself into Harvey Dent with an elastic band. He hasn't even taken a snap this year, and he still got hurt. He played 1 quarter of a preseason game and injured himself. Then he doesn't even play a single offensive snap in the regular season, and he still wound up on IR for 10 weeks. Like, do you know how hard that is to do?
Here's the thing.
Everybody that's ever been drafted as high as AR has gotten another chance except for
Trey
Josh Rosen.
And Trey Lance.
Josh Rosen did get another chance in Miami.
Trey Lance was not another chance. Rosen actually did get another chance.
Yeah.
Lance is just a limited backup. Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, this is the whole thing was the KOC AR thing in Minnesota, which guys, I have news for you. If you don't like JJ McCarthy, I got news for you about Anthony Richardson. It's talk about guys that can have a change up once in a while. That's there's another one, but yeah, interesting.
I mean, that's not going to happen. They're going to be like depressingly mid, but there's like a 0% chance they're one of the 3 worst rosters in the league next year.
Yeah, it's just insane. It's fun. I mean, I just traded for Alec Pierce last week because I needed one in a flex really bad.
So I assume he means 2027. If he actually means 2026, we've already won 8 games, so I don't think that pick can be top 3.
Yeah. Tough. Like for your fantasy, maybe Tyler Warren just ends up like with 18.
Yeah,
catches?
I think Amir Abdullah is going to have a little bit of fantasy value.
You go.
Be in the Naheem Hines role.
Josh Downs will live again.
I mean, look, I was so depressed.
He has to get on the field.
I don't know if they can afford to play Downs. I mean, if Phillip Rivers takes 1 hit, it is over. You've got to go like 2 tight end max protect on every snap. Like if you're gonna have any chance, like you can't do 3 wide receivers. Look, I mean, I couldn't have been more depressed on Sunday. Obviously, like
that's terrible.
You have a game where it's like your season is on the line. You've had this very, very fun year that's kind of collapsing, and then all of a sudden, like it collapses very finally in the most painful way imaginable, which is your quarterback tearing their Achilles. It was so bleak. Like whether or not it works or not, like this Phil Rivers thing has just brought so much joy back to my life in the last 24 hours. And like I'm actually excited to watch the last 4 games of Colts football now again. Like it rules. Like I also just love Phil Rivers. Like I've always been a huge Phil Rivers fan. I think he's hilarious. And yeah, it's just gonna be a blast.
I will also say too, right? Like It sucks for Daniel Jones in Dynasty as well, because a lot of us, right, traded for him. A lot of us expected the contract, and that's pretty much cooked now. Like, I don't see a world. They're not giving him the security. I don't see like 4 or 5 years, 120. I could see like a 1 year, maybe you come back, but they also don't even have to. He's gonna miss the entire season no matter what.
No, that's not true at all. He'll probably be ready for week 1.
You have way more faith in that than I do.
No, I mean, no, I don't know that he'll be good, but like, there's no chance he misses the entire season. Even look at Kirk Cousins. Like, he was ready for week 1. He was terrible. Yeah. Rodgers was ready for week 1. Like, there's no. The issue with Achilles is more about return to performance than it is return to being active. Like, he might miss the first couple of weeks, but he's going to play in 2020.
Rodgers blew his shit in like 2 drives to start the year. Right. I don't remember when like Kirko went. Oh, was it? I'm just thinking week 14.
It was like mid-season for Cousins.
Yeah, and he was ready for the start of OTAs. Like, he was bad. So I don't take this as any confidence in what level Daniel Jones returns at. I'm just saying, like, there's no chance he's missing all of 2026. He might miss the first few weeks, but like, he will probably the typical return to play is like 8-9 months.
Okay.
For quarterback. I expect he'll be hitting the return to play window very close to week 1, and he might miss a couple of weeks at most. But anyway, I have no idea where he's going to be. My guess is the most logical contract to me for all sides would be like a 2 or 3 year deal that has partial guarantees for any year beyond 2026 and brings the number considerably down, where you give Jones a little bit of security, but then you give yourself a little bit of upside, where you basically like assume we're buying kind of a dud for 2026 and we might have to bring someone else in to start the year. But, you know, maybe if everything works out, we're getting a value in 27 and 28. Maybe Jones really wants to bet on himself. He says, I only want a 1 year deal to prove it. And in that case, it'd probably be a really low number. You know, or maybe Jones says, no, I want the deal that I was going to get before this. But if he says that, then I think the Colts probably just start looking at Tua or Kyler or other options, because, like, you know, they're healthy. So
I could see like the Justin Fields deal, right? 2 years, 40, with maybe a little bit less than the 30 guaranteed. Like, maybe 22 guaranteed for him, and then
I think there's going to be guarantee. If it's a deal that's that low, I think there would be guarantees on the second year, because why else would Jones sign that?
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, so if it's 40 with 30 guaranteed, 20 guaranteed year 1, 10 guaranteed year 2.
That seems like the low end. I'll throw a guess. I
just don't have a lot of faith in him getting that kind of cash.
I think it will be something more in the realm of 3 for 75. The second year is half guaranteed, and the third year is a free roll for the Colts with nothing guaranteed. Or it'll be like 1 year, 15 million if Jones just wants to bet on himself.
So then my next big question for Dynasty implications are buying? Like, how, like, are we, do we want to invest at all in Dynasty? Yeah.
I mean, his value takes a huge hit. But like, so I don't know, but buying for what? I'd definitely buy for any second, I think. Maybe not like a really early 25 second, but probably buy, or 26. I mean, I'd definitely buy for a mid to late 26 too. I'd buy for non-tanking teams 27 or 28 too.
Okay.
Similar value. I think he'll start games in the NFL again.
I got the trades pulled up. Let's see if we're going just a quick yes or no here. We have got from today in a 2 quarterback, so not super flex. 2 quarterback start 11, Daniel Jones or Keenan Allen, Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, I can take Jones over that.
Jones? Wait, which side gets Keenan?
The Aaron Rodgers side.
Yeah, I would rather have Jones.
Yeah. Agreed.
Aaron Rodgers sorry, I can't read right now. Aaron Rodgers and a 26 second, or Daniel Jones?
Rodgers in the second for me.
Yeah, give me the second, I think.
Yeah, that's probably fine. I assume if you're making that kind of deal, like, you really need to start Aaron Rodgers and you have no other QB2 option. So I'm assuming that serves a purpose for you. And then you get the second to backfill. That seems like a reasonable deal.
Next up, I'm starting to think Tua is a buy. When I did the Monday Dynasty podcast, I went to look at his price and I was like, I'm seeing thirds being tossed around for Tua. And like, I know I rag on the guy, and rightfully so. I say this a lot, but he might be the only quarterback to lead the league in passing and lose value before turning 30, like he did when he did it. But we're talking like Daniel Jones in a fourth or Tua. And that like feels like Tua to me pretty easily.
I think I want Tua.
I mean, the only thing is Tua has like, Tua used to have like a semblance of fantasy upside, but like, I don't know if you've looked at his game logs this year. The fantasy upside has like largely vanished from existence the last couple of years. Like back in like the early days of the Mike McDaniel, like he was never, a top 5 guy, but he could be like a high end QB2. I don't know where he ranks in points per game. I'd be surprised if he's in a top 24 points per game this year.
It's very low. The Dolphins are like the second lowest pass rate over expectation since week 7 or something like that. They've gone very run heavy. It's worked, by the way. They're winning games. Devon Achane looks sick. Good for them. Good for Mike McDaniel, saving his job and his reputation there. Continuing to win us Mike McDaniel truthers, but not a glowing endorsement of Tua.
This is just like very quick and dirty. So like, if your league settings are different, I don't care. It's roughly accurate. This is from fantasy data, which I assume is 4-point passing touchdowns, no bonuses, nothing special. They have him at 11.1 fantasy points per game this year, which means that you're actually just better off with like any viable wide receiver. That's actually below Geno Smith in points per game this year. That's below both Schuck and Rattler. That's bleak as hell. I assume these are like a very low scoring, but regardless, the comparison to other quarterbacks still stands. You're not really getting any juice. The only like actual starting quarterback that's lower in points per game than him this year is Cam Ward.
Yeah. All right. Maybe you're right. I don't know. That just seems a little bit low for Tua, but there you go. There's some Phillip Rivers intertwined dynasty talk, which I got to tell you, 2025, not expected. If that doesn't tell you how fantasy football has been this year, I don't know what else will. It's such an odd year, very strange year, stranger than most years. We say that a lot, but this one I feel.
I disagree. I think this has been a totally normal fantasy football year. I'm not gonna like what's actually been that weird. A lot of guys have gotten injured. This is a weird fight for me.
Jerry Rice.
The Michael Wilson thing is pretty weird.
We get
Jacoby
guys like
Brissett,
we had Travis
MVP.
Fulgham before Michael Wilson. Like this happens.
Yeah, and that was
Patrick
weird.
Mahomes missing the playoffs. It is a weird year in football. Yeah, the Bengals for sure winning the AFC North.
I largely agree with Ryan that like every year we say like what a weird year in football, and it's like that's because every year is kind of a weird year. But like if every year is a weird year, then no year is a weird year. And
Jacoby Myers better than Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter.
But like every year has stuff that like happens that's like that, right? Like there's
I
always,
agree.
There's always like busts that you think are incomprehensible. There's ascensions that are incomprehensible. There's injuries that are horrible. Like that's just kind of like, that's why we talk about it all the time as being such a random sport. Like if there was ever a normal year that everything went as expected, that would be really weird.
True. Yeah.
There was that one year where Christian McCaffrey was like the 101 and he just scored 28 fantasy points per game. And that was like the normal year in football. It's like, yes, everything is going exactly as we expect. And it was actually a very boring year. I like 2019, 2020, maybe one of those. But yeah, that's the last normal year we've had.
2019 was a good year for me. Last time I won the home league and I have not replicated that since. I have come close. I'm back in the playoffs again. 7 straight division titles in the home league. By the way, if your home league doesn't have divisions and rivalries, you're missing out. It's a lot of fun. Have never not competed in the home league. I have been in there every season and still have only won it once. So sad days for me, but home league playoffs. Always exciting.
I'm looking right now. It appears that I've secured the 1 seed this year in the home
It
league.
is. It does appear that way, and it does look like the path to my
What's the playoff bracket. Are we gonna play each other?
Yeah.
Oh my god, this couldn't be better. I play the winner of you and Habib.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be fun no matter what.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm gonna get.
Well, beat each other up. Tire yourselves out.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. We got a quick turnaround, right? The Sunday to Thursday holiday game. That's no. I just need Lamar and Mahomes to actually play football just one time this year.
Oh, good luck with that.
It's been pretty brutal.
Sorry, are you referring to Aaron Rodgers and Tyler Huntley?
Oh God! All right, let's. I know it's been bad, but that feels like a low blow.
Would the Ravens have more wins this year? Actually,
Yes.
if they just didn't bring Lamar Jackson back,
Yes.
from his injury, and they just kept playing Tyler Huntley, I think probably the answer is yes, right?
Yes, I've posted 2 or 3 weeks in a row. Let's get Tyler Huntley up and moving around as if he's in the bullpen. Because it's been bad. Let's get him up and stretching. Let's get him up and moving. Terrible, just terrible. Quick break. When we come back, we are going to dive into trading in leagues that do not have a trade deadline, even though we think that they should. We'll be right back. I didn't realize, well, that's right. I knew this, but every year I forget, I should say, how controversial it is to have trade deadlines in dynasty leagues. Do we want to just briefly talk about why we feel like they're important?
Well, I think the two questions are kind of tied together because, I mean, to me, the whole reason why I'm pro deadline is because I think the incentive structure in non-deadline leagues is very obvious. And so to me, it'd be kind of antithetical to, have these strong opinions about why we need deadlines, but then not also have important thoughts on how to play leagues without deadlines. So I think that they're tied together. But the main reason why I am pro trade deadline is that it's actually, I think, I'll start with the case that all of the anti-deadline people make, which is they say, if you get rid of trade deadlines, it's really important. I get this isn't the only case, but it's a big part of what I always hear is it's really important for rebuilders, to be able to make trades all year long. Because, if you get to week 17 and, you're the rebuilder and, Christian McCaffrey gets hurt, you have Brian Robinson on your roster, don't you want to be able to take advantage of that? And obviously in that specific instance, it is kind of a bummer to not have the trade deadline. What I would always turn back around, though, is that I don't think that rebuilders are actually in any way benefited by the trade deadline. And it's not about having charity for them that we need them. But to me, the fundamental why is dynasty fantasy football interesting to me, as opposed to just playing redraft fantasy football, is you're constantly in this mental battle of how much do I try to win the league this year versus how much am I trying to preserve my value, to be able to contend for as many years as possible, for what Tom just said, contending 7 years in a row, in a league. And that's a really hard balance to strike. I think that removing trade deadlines removes a lot of that challenge because you can basically just play it like a redraft league. And then once your train falls off the tracks, if it does, you just sell your pieces. And it's kind of like you just get a take back, get out of jail free card on trying to compete and ultimately failing to do so. There's very little punishment to do so. And it especially doesn't help rebuilders because when we talk about trades happening in week 15 and 16 and 17, who do you think has the most attractive pieces that everyone is trying to buy? Is it the team that just lost in the semifinals with Christian McCaffrey and Devontae Adams? Or is it the team that went 2-10 and probably doesn't have any premium scoring assets? The people that get benefited the most from a no trade deadline league, to me, are very obviously the teams who try to compete all year and lose in the first or second round of the playoffs. And there's nothing wrong with being those teams, I just think that if that is benefited heavily, then the clear and obvious strategy for being in a no trade deadline league is more or less play redraft every single year and then sell off your assets once it becomes apparent that you can't win. But since you'll be able to do that potentially even in the literal final week, I really don't think that there's that much downside to just going all in every single year. I think it takes away a lot of the strategy of the game.
I think you gave a very intelligent and well thought out answer, and I'm going to butcher it by just saying I think it gives too many shitty players an out. I think it gives bad dynasty managers an out from making very poor decisions, which is the dumbed down version of everything Jacob kind of said. You can just go all in, which we are going to talk about later, and all it takes is one other manager in the league to bail you out of that decision. I think you need to set yourself up in week 13. I'm even okay with like week 14, like the last week before playoffs being the trade deadline cutoff.
That's
great.
fine.
I think that's awesome. I preach a modified trade deadline. I really like that. It's a compromise, right? You can't trade the moment you're in the playoffs.
I have no issue with people who are eliminated trading with each other. That's no
problem. Like that to me, I think that's cool. I think that allows you can still recoup some picks, trade some vets that people want to take a shot on. There's still strategy to be made there, but the idea that you just get to 3x of value simply because somebody out there, and look, maybe not in your leagues, I understand. Somebody out there is going to be so desperate for a quarterback. Someone's going to pick up Phillip Rivers off the waiver wire and trade him for a second. If I dig through every trade database, thousands and thousands of leagues that I pull from, and find one singular trade for Phillip Rivers that involves a second, anytime I'm asked why a league should have a trade deadline, I'm posting it. Like that's going to be it. That's just part of it. So yeah, I think that's all I have on that. Jacob really hit that home, but I felt like the modified trade deadline, I think that's pretty cool too. Anything to add, or should we talk about playoff team trade building?
The only thing I was going to say is, and this kind of dovetails into like the strategy stuff we'll talk about, to do like a weird analogy, not having a trade deadline almost turns Dynasty into like buying cars. I don't know if you guys know anybody that buys a car like once every year, once every 2 years. They always like roll negative equity into it. They're like just kind of slowly building up negative equity. They're just losing a bit on every single car buying transaction they do. That's almost what you can do in Dynasty in each round of the playoffs. Like up until the point when you lose, if you have an active trading league and all of these assets are liquid and everything, you can just continually buy players that you can then sell for 95 cents on the dollar the next week. Now, that doesn't always happen in practice, but with an active league, that's totally possible. And unlike buying a car over and over and over again and getting all the negative equity, you don't really get punished that much for it ultimately in Dynasty, because at the end of the car buying tunnel, there is not you winning the equivalent of you winning the league. Like you get the Ferrari for free or whatever. Like you can kind of slowly dig yourself down the value hole to a point that is not that big, and then you can just get yourself out of it, or you can just have lost 10%. If you're willing to sit there and grind trades in this league for as your entire day, which I'm not, but which some people definitely are.
Oh yeah, shout out Tom Lee. That guy, you give that guy a sliver of an opportunity to make a trade. Tom Lee is out there hammering thousands per day, and it works, right? Like he gets it done. So that's right. Well, let's talk about the best and worst types of trades to make as a playoff team. I think that there are obvious ones, but I would love to go around the horn here. And Jacob, you're deep in the weeds.
Well, I have a lot of boring math that I'm about to share. Just try to stay with me, okay?
I'm probably already lost, but I'll try.
Okay. So before I get into the math,
before you go,
Yeah.
I want the comments and I want the chat to guess when I get lost. If you post the timestamp for when you think I get lost in the math, your name will be entered for whatever giveaway we do at the end of the year. We always do one. This is it. We'll do a giveaway if you can guess when I get lost in the math. Let's go. So 3 minutes before you
Someone
went
said
live.
3 minutes before you went live.
Ban him right now. Get him out.
Okay, so before I get into the math of it, my assumption always was, and I would guess a lot of people's assumption always was, that like universally, if you're pinning everything on one game, versus an entire season or playoffs, that you would think that one trade would just always make way more of an impact to your lineup in one game. And that's like, I think maybe I'm off, but I would guess that that's most people's intuition. And the reason for that is just you can like clearly see it. And I think in some ways that is like clearly true, right? You actually know who's healthy. You know what the projections are. You know what the matchups are, whether it's a good or bad matchup. So because of all that predictability, that helps. But let's throw that aside. Let's just make an assumption, okay? Let's assume that however likely you are to win one playoff game, that's how likely you are to win all playoff games. I know that doesn't apply in reality, but it's a helpful thought experiment. So let's assume that your team is 50%. You're a pure coin flip to win each of your 3 playoff games. All right. Do the old 0.5 times 0.5 times 0.5. That gets you to 12.5%. You have a 12.5% chance to win the league. Okay. Here's where it gets interesting. You have a 40% chance to win each of those games. Okay. So 0.4 times 0.4 times 0.4. That would leave you with a 0.064. So that's a 6% chance to win your league. Okay. Let's say you're a favorite, 60%. So 0.6 times 0.6 times 0.6, that gets you up to a 22% chance. And finally, 70 in each of your games, that gets you up to a 34% chance. So let's assume, and I promise I'm almost done with the math, that any given trade you can make gives you a chance to win all of these playoff games by 10%. It gives you a 10% increase to your win equity. It's a really massive trade. You're trading for Christian McCaffrey or something. Here's the crazy part for me, right? Obviously, a 10% increase to any one game is a total 10-point increase in your win equity, right? From 60 to 70, from 50 to 60, from 40 to 50. What's remarkable to me is that if you take the 60 to 70 over one game, you increase your win equity by 10 points. If it's 60 to 70 over 3 games, you increase it by 13 points. From all the way from 21.6 up to 34.3. But at the other end of the spectrum, if you go from 40 to 50, it's only a 6% increase across the 3 games, but it's a 10% increase on the one game. Anyways, all of this is to say is that if you are in a weaker position generally, you're an underdog generally, and you make this all-in trade, it increases your odds of winning much more in a 1-game sample size than it does over a 3-game sample size. If you're a favorite, the increase in your odds to win the championship is actually much higher over a 3-game sample size versus a 1-game sample size. And so the reason I bring all of this up is that I think if you are interested in buying and you are a favorite, you're the best team in the league, you should buy before the playoffs start. Because that is actually the way to get the largest win equity bump possible. If you are an underdog, you should probably not be that aggressive in buying before the playoffs start. But if you happen to get to the finals, then you might be more incentivized to make a massive buy. And then generally speaking, I think if you're a favorite, you should probably be less incentivized overall because you can make less of a total impact on your win equity than you are as an underdog. That was probably really confusing, and I wish that I had like a whiteboard. But the upshot would be, if you're a favorite, I would either buy not at all, or I would buy before the playoffs start. If you're a slightly weaker team, I would either wait until the end, But I would probably be pretty actually incentivized to get pretty darn aggressive if you make it all the way to the funnel.
So I've never seen it broken down that way, but that is the most perfect way possible to break down your point. Like, that's beautiful. Thank you for numbers.
Somebody just said, can you repeat that? I think they missed the part where you divide by the root number and then multiply it by, I'm sorry. The chat had me it's so fun. It's so hilarious. If you're a podcast listener, I
noticed
knew
the chat was also pretty sure Ryan and Lucas were checked, and the chat might be checked out. But sometimes I come in here, I seem unprepared. I wanted to show off all the homework that I'd done on this question topic. I don't know how to do it in a faster way, but hopefully the point came across.
But I mean, I don't know what else the chat would want from that other than you having the numbers come up while you say it.
So we know who the rock
watching Khan Academy for fantasy football. That's what you need right now. But that's perfect. The way that you just put that out, and a shameless plug here. Maybe we have something at Fantasy Points that tells you how much a single player influences your probability of winning. Maybe that's a metric that already exists. So maybe you should go check that out, and you can get even more specific about whether or not the trade's worth it. But
so shocker that the guy who's an actual rocket scientist managed to follow along with that effortlessly and is applauding. But I knew what I was in for when I asked everyone to guess when I checked out. We had immediately yesterday, 3 minutes before you went live, we lost him. Check the reflection on Tipple's glasses. Is that Sudoku? Graph paper helps. He's watching highlights of Lamar in 24. You guys are amazing. I knew what I was getting into. That's hilarious. Hilarious. You guys are all entered in the draw. That's fantastic. I think you're right. We talk a lot about cost as well, right? So not only does making these type of trades impact your win probabilities via the margins that I absolutely remember, but I'm not going to go over real quick, but it also tends to deplete your long-term value, which is something not often discussed enough, because it's okay, do it in the now, right? Me and Buck talk a lot yes, this dynasty, but the most important season is still this one. And that's true to a point. You do want to win. However, if you got if you don't have a high value roster and you're just sending everything you can to the core, I think you're missing the mark for such marginal increases. However, some things I want to talk about. What about your Justin Jeffersons? What about your Drake Londons? What about your elite players that seem to be held down one reason or another, tearing them out, even if you lose a little bit of value on that? Because in my opinion, if you're a playoff team, which congratulations if you made it with Justin Jefferson, congrats. You're a wizard. You probably have Michael Wilson, but I am not going to go through another episode not talking about the players on the thumbnail. I very specifically have them on there for a reason. But Justin Jefferson, it's
just Phillip Rivers, right?
I honestly, if I were better at my job, it would have been. If I were better at my job, it would have been.
You want to go check who has Justin Jefferson in the Chubbs Memorial and was 13-1 and won the points title by 4
Chubbs Memorial doesn't count because you built a team so strong. Somebody accused us of running a Ponzi scheme that came in and took over a team. There was a whole thing about it. We still have to do a podcast on that because I still can't believe that's real. But
we'll get Pablo Torre involved.
Jayden Daniels, Drake London, Justin Jefferson are the three players I get asked about the most. Losing Penix kills London, even though he's great. Kirk Cousins, just his splits with Cousins, as Ryan knows, is terrible. Jayden Daniels this seems like a lost season for him. And then Justin Jefferson gets 2 for 11, even when JJ McCarthy has a good game. So these are the trades I get asked about the most. I want to know what you guys are doing. I'm going to start with Ryan.
I'm going to be annoying and bring up a slightly different player just so I can complain.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
But the answer hopefully will be will still make sense. So I, in one league, am in kind of a similar situation to what Jacob just laid out, where I kind of squeak into the playoffs. I'm a slight underdog, but luckily I do have pieces that I could be moving off my roster. Now, don't get me started on this league, on the people in this league, on how enraged I am anytime I try to make trades in this league. I still have Garrett Wilson on this roster. The trade deadline is not passed. I could trade Garrett Wilson away right now for a player that could score points for me. Would make a pretty decent difference to my projection. I've got like pretty crappy players in my second flex or whatever. I could easily add, if I got like fair value for Garrett Wilson, I could probably get another 6-7 points in my projection, swing my win probability by 10%. I think that is generally worth doing. Whether it's Garrett Wilson, whether it's Justin Jefferson, Drake London, if you're staying within about a second to a third of value, I'm like okay with that. It's not so we're not quite at the optimal spot as an underdog to be trading yet because I haven't made the finals yet. So maybe I'll hold my cards and wait until then. But I think that's okay. I'm okay with sacrificing a second worth of value to get like a 10%-ish bump to my win projection. I don't think you want to do that like multiple times necessarily, because the more you're adding, the more players you're buying, the less that's increasing your win chances, your title odds. So there's a diminishing return to it the more you do it, and you're digging yourself into a deeper hole future value wise. But yeah, I think if any sort of pivots from a Drake London, from a Justin Jefferson into a similar tier are like, yeah, I would do it. In reality, right now, the best offer I have is I'm being told I need to add to Garrett Wilson to get Christian Watson, which is tilting me insanely right now in that league. But
it's weird you don't already have Christian Watson.
Yeah,
it really is weird. I don't already have him, isn't it?
I didn't know you. I thought you had 100% exposure.
This is a league with Jacob Gibbs, who I do another show with, and he has like all the Ryan Heath guys. He has Drake May, he has Devon Achane, he has Christian Watson. I think he was trying to troll me in the startup, and he succeeded.
Well, the correct answer was trading for Christian Watson for a third. Like 5 weeks ago, that was the right answer, but can't quite get there. And I think like whenever you have such an elite talent like a Justin Jefferson, you are adding something on top to go and get one of the 3 or 4 guys who are better. If you all can hate me for saying this, but if you can add like a first on to Justin Jefferson to go get either Puka or Jamar Chase right now, I'd be doing that. Like, I think that that's a kind of trade that you can make in which, like, that you're going to be maintaining a high value asset. So you're not necessarily tearing down from there. If, say, the next season you have to go and, just blow everything up, you at least have some options there. I wouldn't be looking at moving somebody like this veteran who's just in the dumps, but, is still going to be valued really highly going into next season, like tearing down from them to add like picks and then like a person who might be hot right now, like that just starts to, I think, really like hamstring you a little bit. And then you're betting on this other player who might be hot to maintain this hot streak and hoping that these assets will carry you in. So, oh yeah, I forgot. Sorry, Dynasty Dave. That was you who gave me Christian Watson for a third. But I digress. So, like, I'm looking at Dynasty Daddy right now. I see a trade, Justin Jefferson for Keenan Allen, Devonta Smith, and a second. I don't think that that's something that you're doing if you're a contender. Justin Jefferson for Aaron Jones, T. Higgins is second. I don't really think that's a trade that you're doing either. And, like, where you're helping yourself, like, try to win that season and, setting yourself up for later on going into next year.
Yeah, that's setting Justin Jefferson value on fire for marginal increases like Jacob was talking about, and I was absolutely paying attention to.
Yeah, I'm going to mostly like repeat what Ryan said, I guess, and just phrase it slightly differently. Like I think the best version of the like aggressive win now move you can make is like just like functionally remaining within the same tier of asset, but subtracting, one that is in like a terrible short-term situation, either due to quarterback or injury, just for like another kind of similar player, going into next year. And it's probably easy enough to get those trades done if the person is acting rationally, because if they can even make a small profit off of that, right? They're going to do it. And like, look at how much value fluctuates in Dynasty. You can look at ADP, you could look at my rankings, you could look at anyone's ranking. Like we're constantly adjusting things all the time. We play in a sport that has 17 inputs a year. So in reality, if we're talking about, a Garrett Wilson, and we're talking about like, I don't know, insert other wide receiver that's like valued in a similar sphere. I don't know. Like we could talk about Rashee Rice. Yeah, like any of these guys, like any of these top 20 wide receivers, you pick someone who's similar enough in value, more than likely it's going to fluctuate like multiple times for the rest of their careers in terms of who is valued higher than who. And the sentiment's always going to swing back and forth. And so like, yeah, if you can just basically pay the equivalent of like lose the value by like a late 2 or 3 or whatever, and you get to materially improve your chances to win and stay within the same value class, that seems like a better plan to me than like, going all in to overpay for this like one veteran who's going to come in and save the day at the very last moment. That's where I'm not saying I wouldn't ever buy a vet, but like I would want to buy them pretty darn close to what I have them as my listed price. I'm not paying 2 firsts and a second for Christian McCaffrey because I just fucking need to win at all costs.
The way I look at it is,
might be muted. Oh, you're good.
Yeah, I got it. I realized my mistake. I'm a professional. The way I look at it is you don't want to be sending like an elite Dynasty plus asset for like a redraft plus asset like Devontae Adams, who you're getting points this year, you're probably getting points next year, and everything beyond that is kind of washed, which is why I refer to it as a redraft plus. You don't want to do that for a redraft plus and then like a mid to lower tier Dynasty asset if you've got an elite Dynasty plus type asset.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah, I have no problem paying for Devontae Adams, by the way, in a vacuum. It's just I would be very price conscious. Like I wouldn't want to overpay for Devontae Adams. The biggest thing I wouldn't want to buy is like the worst version of Devontae Adams. Like basically someone who like increases my odds of winning, very incrementally. Like if you're going to go all in on a vet, like at least get like one of the very top producers, and I'm not saying overpay, but pay the fair price for it.
Yeah, and I think going all in, as we're going to talk about later, should be defined very clearly. Like I don't think sending your late 1 for Josh Jacobs is going all in. I think that's just like a very reasonable buy candidate, and that's just generally the cost, right? So to me, that's not going all in. So we're going to define that a little bit later because I think that's totally fine. That's just the type of move that we like to make. Andy Buckler and I on the Market Report, we talk about a lot, but just, I know there's going to be someone in the comments yelling at Lucas for his suggestion. So I went and pulled it up, but you're seeing Justin Jefferson and a 28 first for Puka. You're seeing Justin Jefferson and a first for Jamar Chase. You see trades like Rashee Rice and a second for Justin Jefferson. I think all of those deals are probably right in the line of where you want to be if you're moving an asset like that. Then you go and look at somebody like Drake London. Like to me, some of these are insane. Like some of these are future orphan type decisions. Drake London for Khalil Shakir, Cedric Tillman, and a 27 first. That is a sick obsession with the 27 draft class. I'm going to assume they play a lot of Debbie. But you've got like Drake London for Brian Thomas Jr. and T. Higgins, right? Like that's not as painful, but I think that's still not a move that I want to. You don't even know if T. Higgins is gonna. T. Higgins' brain might be hovering in the Tua zone here very quickly. Multiple concussions here. Bengals are probably getting fined for letting him play. Like you don't even know what you're getting here the rest of the season, but. Puka Nacua for Cam Ward and Drake London. That's just it's an odd deal because Cam Ward's involved. I don't need to talk about him much more than I already have all season. Another Keon Coleman sighting. Drake London for Keon Coleman, Darius Slayton, a 26-1 and a 3. If that player is trading their 1, they're likely that's late. Like, that's a bad deal. That's a terrible move for the person selling Drake London, but those are the type of deals you want to make if you're going and buying. To me, those are the right type of moves that add enough value, not just this season. Even if Drake London doesn't play, you're going to be real happy you have him next year. So that is a Dynasty Plus type move. So some thoughts for building trades as a playoff team. Quick break. When we come back, we're going to define going all in, and we're going to discuss if it is real or not. Sit tight. Don't go anywhere.
45 seconds? Nah, that. This ad is over after I say fantasypoints.com.
Okay, let's dive into it. I am very openly against the going all in. This is how a lot of people end up saying things like, life has been busy. I have to cut my leagues back. Just push notice. And then I see the same usernames jump into startups, repeat that process, and then end up on my banned list that I have. So let's talk about it. Well,
Tom, sorry, you went scuba diving on us.
yeah. I realize that now.
You're back now. You're good.
I realize that now. Let's do that again. So going all in, I don't think it's real. I think going all in is the type of thing that ends up with people leaving your leagues. Life's gotten busy. And then you find those same people doing startups next month or so, doing the same strategy over and over because they don't work their way out of the hole that they dug. They draft a lot of veterans. They move all the draft picks in the startups. They don't have draft picks for 3 years. Like, they're the type of player that as soon as 2028 came around, their first was already sold. We used to play with somebody like that. It was very fun to play with somebody like that because we just constantly had a shot at the 101, like I will next year in the home league. Those are the type of players that go all in, and it, to me, very rarely ends up working out. That's what going all in is to me. Selling all your young players, your rookies, your draft picks. You know, that I think Les Snead did damage to the Dynasty community when he said, you know, fuck them picks. Like, I think he did terrible damage to the Dynasty community because I noticed a change after that. Anyway, long-winded way to say, I don't think it's real. What do you guys think? Do you think it's viable? Are you doing it? When are you doing it? And how are you doing it?
I think I would define going all in. And I think when I say going all in, I mean going all in, open bracket, derogatory, close bracket. I would define it as one of two things. One would be buying short-term assets at overpay prices. So, like, you don't have to agree with my Dynasty rankings, but, like, let's just pretend you do, right? And I have, you know, someone listed at, like, I think I have Christian McCaffrey listed at 1.25 base first. I don't know. I don't have them in front of me right now. And so, like, if you decide go all in, you know, by buying Christian McCaffrey and you pay a first and a second, I would say probably a good move. You know, that's like what I think his value is, and he's going to make a big impact on your lineup. Like, I'm not saying it's a good move on every team, but I would have no objection to that in practice. If you were saying you're going to pay 2 firsts for him, you know, if you make a case for me that you think he's worth 2 firsts in a vacuum, then fair enough. But if you're saying, look, I know it's a big overpay, but, like, I just want to win this year, I would say that's bad process, generally speaking. And the other thing that I would say would be going all in derogatory would be making a bunch of buys at any price, even a reasonable price, to the point of just diminishing returns. And I think we talked about this a while ago on the trade deadline, but like if you're getting to the point where the worst player in your starting lineup is Chris Olave, who's like a pretty good starter and like a very good worst starter. And you're going like, man, I don't know. Like I've got to upgrade this part of my lineup. And it's like at that point, the guy that you're going to replace Chris Olave with is probably like 60-40 at best. I would score him, right? It's a big difference between buying a player to replace, I don't know, insert someone shitty. Like Khalil Shakir is your worst starter, right? That is like a flimsy position to be in. You upgrade Khalil Shakir into Devontae Adams. That doesn't guarantee you anything, but your lineup looks materially better. And if you pay a reasonable price for Devontae Adams, I could support that. But yeah, if you're either going all in where you're just replacing guys kind of just to replace guys, and all of a sudden you're leaving really good players on the bench, don't recommend that. If you're overpaying, don't recommend that.
Yeah, it's like storing a elite third quarterback, right? I'm very much against it. Obviously, if you've seen my quarterbacks reflex leagues, you know that. Yeah, storing an insane amount of value when you're just going to get dumped on by Michael Wilson or 2019's Rashad Perriman is why it's so dangerous to me. Anything to add, you guys? Ryan, Lucas?
I think like I agree with most of what both of you have said. The thing I'll add is kind of like a comparison. So when you're rebuilding, there's kind of a natural like glide toward your goal. As soon as you make the decision to rebuild, to sell off your assets, to acquire picks, your max points for or your record is naturally going to go down. The value of the picks that you have that are your own are going to increase. It like kind of puts you on rails, right? Like it's very hard to mess up from that point. You can definitely mess up your picks. You can mess up whatever you're going to sell those picks for, whatever players you're going to buy with them, whatever draft picks you're going to make. You can mess that up, but you're not really going to mess up like the value of your roster at that point, as long as you're getting fair value. You can easily mess up the value of your roster by going all in on like the extreme kind of other end of this. There are no guardrails for you in terms of once you've sent that value off your roster and you've acquired the player. Now you're like crossing your fingers. Now it's just, I hope it was worth it. And by it being worth it, we mean that this player scores a lot of fantasy points in a 1 to 3 game sample in the NFL, which is very tenuous, right? So that's what I'd say. I'd just be way more cautious and like I would really check if you have the impulse to go all in to sell off all your assets and try to make that sort of push. I would just say be cautious. Like, yeah, check yourself. Think about why you might have that impulse, where it's coming from, whether it's rational.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing whenever we're talking
you should
about,
check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah, essentially that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So I want to make sure we're not like confusing, turning in this future value into current value, or deciding, hey, I've built up enough like value in the aggregate or in the theoretical from whether it's young players who I just drafted, or I have 5 draft picks over the next 2 years, but there's enough goodness on my team to start to move some pieces around and, decide you're going to compete. But I wouldn't call that all in. All in, is going down to like the studs of, I have no more resources that have their own stored value. All of my value is in points that are going to be scored this season or within the next year. So whenever you're talking about that, I think, Jacob, you outlined it very well here. Like, yes, you should be adding to your team whenever it's worth it, but the biggest issue is going all in because you want to have, 3 of the top 5 RBs in your lineup because that's what's going to set you apart whenever you had, like, let's just say, you had a solid RB24. You have like your worst running back who's going to be filling your last flex spot is somebody like DeAndre Swift. And you're like, I got to get DeAndre Swift off my team to go. And I'm going to move up and I don't know, I'm going to find a way to get Devon Achane. Like that's what you're going to do. You're going to be selling Swift plus 2 1s to get Devon Achane, and then you're sitting there. You have no more 1s on your team, but now you have Devon Achane on your roster, or then you're moving your other seconds because you want a little bit of an upgrade at tight end. And we just did our tight end show. We have lots of disagreements on what an actual upgrade at tight end is. So I won't go into the specifics, but you're upgrading
Lucas
there.
thinks you should trade a 27 and 28 first for Theo Johnson.
Okay, that is not what I was going to say, but Theo Johnson was going to be my example. So I'm not going to say what I was going to talk about potentially paying, or like, you're going and getting, I almost said Zach Ertz because I'm being crazy today, but you're going up and you're getting George Kittle. Like you're moving up from one of those, like, let's say Theo Johnson or Brenton Strange, and you're adding, extra value on top of them to go get them. Like, you have to be really careful about like what you're actually doing to increase your chances of winning, wherever we're talking about 3 weeks of a 17-week season and all the variability and fluctuations that happen with players scoring. You're not actually doing that much more to set yourself apart compared to some of these other teams, especially like whenever really the only person you're competing against in that case is yourself in terms of value, because whenever you're making these moves of like, my worst starter is somebody who's, let's say top 24 at their position or top 36 at their position, and the rest of my team's really good. Like, you're already the clear front runner there. If you're going to be paying off all of these potential future assets, you really are just betting against yourself there, because what other teams are actually going to be paying up to try to compete with you on that level? I just think that you have to be really careful about like what you're doing there. And also, like, if you're wanting to add more to your team, go in like the opposite direction and get like the highest like fluctuation players there to be sitting on your roster for the second week if you want to do something crazy. Like before Christian Watson was playing like he's really good, he would have been a great person to be adding there. You wanted somebody who potentially was going to do something crazy. Last year's Rashid Shaheed, I think, was another good one where like you could get him really cheap and he has that 30-point upside. Like that's really where you should be targeting if you're wanting to like get these like week winning players, but you don't want to go all in for it.
The way I look at it is like this: if you are sending away those upper tier assets, if that player that you're trading for breaks his shit, is your team going to survive? Because if not, then you're not in a position to be sending away those elite assets, right? Like if that's the way I look at it, right? And walking that tight of a line is how you end up making really big whoopsies in Dynasty, especially if you are not the type of Dynasty player that trades gratuitously, right? Like we talked about earlier, the Tom Lees. If you're not an active trader, a quote that look, trading, if you send hashtag good offers, that's subjective. Everyone thinks the offers they send are awesome and the offers they get are ass. That's just a universal thing in Dynasty. If you're not an active trader or a someone that enjoys it, you have a larger range of mistakes that you can make that sinks you because you can't get out of it, right? You're going to put yourself into debt. You're like someone that has a spending problem and too many credit cards, right? You're spending on those credit cards and you can't get yourself out of it because you don't trade enough. You don't enjoy trading enough. And that's how you end up giving up. That's how you end up down. And that's how those teams end up vacated. So if you're going to trade for these elite assets, like if you go all in, you need points. We got this question, Jayden Daniels, someone else on the thumbnail. I knew I was going to get him in here somehow. We got Jayden Daniels. Would you trade Jayden Daniels and Marcus Mariota plus for Lamar Jackson for the end of the year? Well, Lamar Jackson's not giving you much more than Mariota.
I would not be looking at Lamar if I'm looking at immediate production. I don't know, but
I
wish him the best.
But I get that, like that mentality. If you do that and then Lamar still breaks his shit, which right. I hope not, or continues to play poorly, you haven't gained anything, and you've added on top of Jayden Daniels now, who's deemed as a better Dynasty asset to a lot of people. You've added on now and still lost.
I mean, think about all the people who this is, and I'm not saying this was like a crazy thing to do, but this is why you don't go overboard. Think about all the people that would have traded Joe Burrow for Jayden Daniels immediately after Joe Burrow got hurt.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's one of the most obvious one-to-one moves you could make. And I'm not saying that was like a silly thing to do, but it's just things can swing when we play such a random game. And if you traded, Joe Burrow and a second for Jayden Daniels, that sucks, but I wouldn't really hang your head in shame about your process. But if you traded Joe Burrow and a first and, RJ Harvey for Jayden Daniels, you should probably wear the cone of shame.
Yeah, I like that. And Joe King here in the chat made a very good point. One bad trade years ago can impact you today, right? And that's what I mean. You have to be a good enough manager to recover. And maybe good is even the wrong word. Maybe good is not the right word for that. You just have to be inactive enough, I guess, and then fall into the situation where that one other person in your league bails you out of a bad call, which is why we want trade deadlines put in place. See, we tied that all back in. I got lost for a second. I found my way back. We made it all the way back here. No problem. Let's talk quickly about rebuilding versus retooling before we get out of here. Quick break, but we'll be right back. Don't worry. We'll be right back.
45 seconds? Nah, f*** that. This ad is over after I say fantasypoints.com.
Okay, rebuilding versus retooling. These are two important things. Things for rebuilders, guys.
Scuba diving again.
I even unplugged it. I think I know what the problem is. I know what the issue is. We'll fix it.
Is the problem that every time you do an ad break,
yes.
You spend that 10 seconds jumping into the Pacific Ocean?
No, this is a StreamYard thing. It's actually kind of annoying, but I have noticed when it starts, and that's usually coming out of breaks.
Ad breaks.
Yeah, very related. So no more ad breaks. I've solved it now. That being said, rebuilding versus retooling. I feel like these are two very different things. I think one is better than the other. So let's talk about it. I think rebuilding is trading everything for as many picks as you can. What I've did in the legal record, right? FNL, Friday Night Lights. I had to do it the way that team is, the way the league is set up. Traded everything. I've got like 10 first-round picks over the next 2 years. The only player I have on my roster really is still Jake Ferguson because you're all cheap bastards and no one would buy him from me. So thanks for that. Versus retooling, which is, more trading vets for like more young players, a couple firsts. You're still buying young assets. Like you're buying Garrett Wilson, even though he's been hurt. You're buying Drake London when he's hurt. You're using those first round picks you've accumulated from competing teams and turning them into assets you're going to be able to quickly turn around the next year. Those are the two differences for me. I'd like to discuss which ones you guys prefer and how they should approach it. I'll start with Jacob.
I don't really prefer either. I think that they apply in different circumstances, like you kind of laid out. To me, the fundamental difference is that rebuilding is more about the state of your roster value. And where it's like you've just gotten to an untenable position. You probably should have realized that before week 15. And so that's generally, I'm selling everything and I'm going to have to be bad for hopefully not that long, but a season or two, so that I can recoup value through the draft and various things. I think retooling is more, is a more isolated circumstance of, I probably went into this year with pretty high hopes. I thought my team had good value. I thought it would be able to produce, but like a bunch of players got injured. And, I decided that it wasn't worth it to try to buy my way out of it. And so that's to me, like you sell off a few expiring pieces around the edges where you can get good value. And otherwise you wind up being left with a team that looks pretty ready-made to compete next year, week 1. So that would be, my general view is like, if you're doing a full-on rebuild, I'm of the view that like, yeah, you get rid of literally everything and then you suck for 1 year and then you reassess and maybe you start buying a bunch of stuff back. Retooling, the goal is compete week 1. So yeah, I think you're basically just trimming the edges. It's like the meniscus surgery. You can get the full repair, you can get the trim. That's always like the discourse. Trey Benson, we don't know what he got. The Cardinals actually are part of the Soviet Union, so we'll never know any of their details of when someone will play again. But Ryan thought he was worth an early 2 anyway. So
the Soviet Union. Oh my God. Ryan, what do you got?
I mean, still reeling from Trey Benson, still waiting with bated breath to see if they open his practice window.
Nikita Khrushchev is pouring over the files as we speak.
Rebuilding versus retooling. Yeah, I'm just largely going to repeat everything you guys said. The way to choose is just what your roster is like. If it is good enough to, or especially if it's bad because there have been injuries and those are players that will score points next year, then yeah, you're just looking for little ways to kind of increase the value of your roster, like guard against any players losing value in the offseason, to hopefully at least break even or slightly profit off of where you were value-wise at the beginning of the year. Just by taking short-term losses that no longer matter to you because you're out of it. Rebuilding much more extreme, sometimes necessary. I guess we're supposed to be giving like types of trades to make or like look for if you're in either of these situations in leagues that don't have deadlines. I think was like our original thought here. Really with both of them, it's just about being active and like literally just go look at the lineup of every playoff team and say, okay, where do they need to upgrade? Is there anything on my roster that I could give up that's whatever, an expiring or depreciating asset that maybe I can flip and get something for? I think if you're in the rebuilder or the retooler position, then you'll have a lot more success kind of the more proactive you are at sending out the offers to the contenders. But yeah, other than that, there's not much like structure or trade advice I can give. It's like you have your goals that we just laid out. So that's what you should keep in mind. You just have to go do it.
I'd say
go ahead.
You definitely want to be paying attention to the IR at this time of year. If you just so happen you don't have the trade deadline, go through the teams that are in the playoffs, find the one who you think is the quote unquote like one piece away, or team that's like, oh wow, if they had Malik Neighbors off of IR, this team would be fantastic. Or they had a rookie, like if there's a Cam Scatabo who was on IR, which we can talk about buying Cam Scatabo is a whole other thing, but like going through and like looking through the IR, that's where you're going to be able to make up some of the value. Take those players off their IR and say, thank you. And here is what they're worth minus a second, and start from there. Because if you can make those types of trades, that's what makes it to where you don't have to go into a full rebuild. You can do these minor retoolings. If you're in, I forget what we called it, but if you're sitting there at number 7, and I know we had some fun name for what the person who finished 7th is, but if you're sitting there at 7th, then that's all I'm doing is like, all right, I have Wan'Dale Robinson on my team. I'm going to find somebody who needs a Wan'Dale Robinson. And if I can get, I don't know, somebody with higher upside, like maybe Wan'Dale Robinson for Mike Evans, if you can find somebody who will do that, I think that's a good trade to make. Going through, if you can somehow turn Christian Watson into Justin Jefferson, I think that's another good trade to make. If you're sitting there because somehow Jordan Addison is like still somewhat producing, even though Justin Jefferson isn't, and you can turn Jordan Addison into a higher threshold value, or maybe Jordan Addison into Brian Thomas Jr., or potentially into Travis Hunter, then I think that's more good things to do. Like that's really how you take these rosters, do these minor retoolings. You don't have to do the full rebuild. You don't have to be sitting there like, oh, let me go to, or let me go find somebody who has these 2 extra first round picks. I'm going to tear it all down to the studs and move on from there. No, like not having a trade deadline for you is a gift.
Yeah.
Use the gift.
One of the things I like to add on and mention for like retooling teams is that it's okay to move your, like I said, the first you've acquired for players that you know are just going to have that value later, but aren't going to be available later, right? They're not always going to be available. Like I said, I mentioned Garrett Wilson before. He's not just going to be willy-nilly as available as he is right now. And if you can move less than what he's going to be worth come draft season to acquire, then what are you holding on to the late 1 for? Right? We know Garrett Wilson's going to be worth what, a 1.5, probably 2, if you're dealing with somebody like Buck, who, rocks Garrett Wilson profile pictures on every social media platform. If you can get him now for less than that, you still should be. Holding on to those first isn't necessarily the fastest way to rebuild your team. Getting players who are known good to elite for less, yes, I like that. It's like Quinshon Judkins, right? We know he's awesome. He's amazing. But we've got Trey Benson and a 26 first, right? If we project that as being late for somebody like
I don't know, man.
Judkins,
Trey Benson could be back here any day now.
Yeah. Any 2028, we're going to be wondering where Trey Benson is and how he's progressing.
Who plays NFL football again first, Trey Benson or Marshawn Lloyd?
Marshawn Lloyd.
Or Anthony Richardson, who I think should just change his name. Remember when he changed his nickname from AR-15 because because of woke? He should just change it to IR-15.
Oh my God. I love that. The dad joke was perfectly executed. But let's look at another one. For example, CeeDee Lamb, the most acquirable elite wide receiver not named Amon-Ra St. Brown. From today, 2 firsts and 2 thirds for CeeDee Lamb. If you've got 5 firsts and your team isn't, down to the bare bones like Lucas was talking about, why are you not making that deal for like 2 late-ish ones? A mid one. The 1.7 and the 1.10 and a couple thirds for CeeDee Lamb. Why would you not do that? He's worth 3 in any given league, on any given week. He's worth 3. You should still be trying to do that if you have the excess. As I'm not talking about going and trading if you got the 101 or the 102. Like Ryan and I made a deal today. We missed the playoffs. We sent away Trevor Lawrence, and we got Kyler Murray and our pick back, and we currently have the 102. Right? Our team's not a teardown. You're taking a lot of risk trading for Kyler Murray, who we had a fun discussion in the podcast group chat about this last weekend. Future Indianapolis Colts quarterback Kyler Murray. But that's exactly the type of trade. If you're retooling and you sent your
Our
first
future
away,
is Phillip Rivers.
that's the now. Is he signing the he's getting the extension.
He's signing the extension.
Oh my God.
The best part, did you know? I'm just going to continue to derail this show. Did you know that if he starts a game, he gets withdrawn? He's currently a Hall of Fame semifinalist, but he wouldn't be eligible for another 5 years if he starts on Sunday. It pushes back the clock. He wouldn't be eligible again until 2031.
Yeah, he's sacrificing everything.
He's leaving it all on the field. He bleeds blue.
If he comes in and puts the Colts in the playoffs, I think that's an automatic ticket. Like that's all he
gotta
needed
give him
left.
If he does this off the couch after 5 years of retirement, he's the best athlete ever. That's what peak performance looks like.
I can't get over that Phillip Rivers is playing football this weekend. Like I can't get over that Phillip Rivers is playing football, but hopefully actually Smeg has a great to offer another definition. I think that the value of my next year's 1 is a major factor during a rebuild, not so much during a retool. I think that's another really good way to look at it as well. The chat was absolutely fire today. You guys are hilarious. I've been appropriately mocked and ribbed. That is phenomenal. We did get a super chat earlier. Ryan did answer it quickly in the chat, but I feel like it is important to get to it. If you do send us these,
Sure.
we'll get a lot of these because we're not like a start sit redraft type thing. But Lucky Leo, hey guys, in my flex, Tet or JMO, I do have Amon-Ra and Adam starting 3 players in 1 game. Is it risky?
they're playing each other this week. Sorry, it's Tuesday. I have not turned my mind to.
Yeah, no, you're good. I already answered it.
Wait,
I'll restate
Are
my
they
answer while
playing
you
each other?
guys
No,
think.
they're not.
Yeah,
Wait,
yes,
Tet's playing the
Rams,
Saints.
No, it's
Rams and Lions are playing each other, is what he's referring to.
Oh, sorry,
Amon-Ra
I
and
understand.
Adams and Jamo are playing each
Oh,
other.
oh,
My
now
answer
I
to
get
this was like, yeah, the game has a 55.5 point over under or whatever it is. I would like to play as many pieces from it as possible. This is going to shoot out like crazy. Jameson Williams has clearly been outscoring Tet recently since Dan Campbell took over play calling, really kind of with or without Amon-Ra. So yeah, I'm cool just rolling with Jameson Williams. I don't see it as like riskier to do so just because you have two other awesome players from that game. Like they're all, I think if anything, you're hedging your bets. You're going to capture most of the touchdowns in that game is the hope.
I'm already very excited for 8 months of discourse on did Jamo's late year surge happen because of Dan Campbell's play calling or to Sam Laporta's injury. That's going to be like an 8-month debate on Twitter because they happened the same week. But regardless of that, you could even say irregardless of that, if you want to be wrong about the English language, I would play Jameson Williams.
Yep, and New Orleans is a really bad matchup for wide receivers. So
yeah, surprising.
Go big or go home.
New Orleans turning it around a little bit.
I'm getting shucked in. Shucked in.
I can't wait for the formal apologies that I'm going to ask for whenever I was demanding we give Tyler Shuck respect during our quarterback tiers, and you all crapped all over me saying that Spencer Rattler was a better quarterback than Tyler Shuck.
I stand I'm giving Tyler Shuck his flowers and he's earned them, but I will not go against my boy Spencer Rattler.
Oh
if
my
the Colts know what's good for them, that's their 2026 plan. They're going to make a trade for the Rat Man.
First off, I want to know.
I think Kellen Moore might be a really, really good coach. Is what I'm.
Yeah, I got a feeling.
I want to point it out, Lucas, when you say you all or y'all, Tyler Shuck has been a priority buy in the trade tier chart for a while. And this was before he started. He has been talked about on the mini pod. So thank you kindly, sir. Although Spencer Rattler did get.
No. As soon as you're going with Spencer Rattler, it discredits every single other thing that you're saying.
Rattler got a raw deal, and it's not.
He did get a raw deal.
There's one specific league that the Tyler Shuck stuff has brought me so much joy. And it's one of my oldest leagues. Tom's surprisingly not in it. But like all summer, I was stuck in this annoying position where I was kind of I've been doing the Tom Tipple strategy in that league for a long time. I'm basically just holding my quarterback room together with duct tape and paper clips. And so my quarterbacks from going into last year were Trevor Lawrence and Derek Carr. And then coming into this year, it was just Trevor Lawrence, basically. And everyone was just being so unreasonable. People are asking for, like multiple firsts for Tua. They're asking for, second for Joe Flacco. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. Like, I'm not even going to do this. I'm going to teach these fools a lesson. I'm just going to eat the entire year with, starting a flex player in the super flex. And then I do get the Shuck Demon to fall to me in round 3 of the draft. And I'm like, maybe, and then sure enough, look who's been, a top 12 quarterback the last while, ascending into the playoffs. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, welcome to the Superflex spot in the lineup. Tyler Shuck is going QB1. Speaking of Lawrence, I realized once again why I still believe in him. It's because every time he fucking plays the Colts, he looks like the prince of his promise. Like, against every other opponent, he sucks. But, like, that guy faces the guys with the horseshoe on their helmets, and it is Clemson freshman year Trevor Lawrence all over again. I swear he's never missed a throw against us.
Yeah, I will say even the charting team has pointed out that Trevor Lawrence has been pretty solid the last 4 weeks, that maybe the Houston game has knocked something in. That being said, playing pretty well still has been like borderline, maybe QB1 sometimes. So I think that's just
fucking dot
a comment on his entire career more so than
did you see the stat? Someone had a stat about how his like passer rating averages like 10 points higher in rain. Which is so weird. But like Can we just get this? Can you just? It's like, remember the old Geno splits of playing in domes? Like,
Mm.
what if Trevor just only played football in downpours? You know, maybe he'd go to the Hall of Fame.
Man, Geno has destroyed his dome splits this year, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about that. Those are gone now.
Look, here it's the thing about the confounding variable, right? You just got to move on to the next thing. The Raiders are one of the only 2 dome stadiums that feature natural grass. So maybe it's just been a turf thing the whole time.
I see.
Who knows?
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That being said,
I think he's just cooked. It's actually what happened. I think he just became washed.
let's end this thing with our player picks for the week. I'm getting absolutely bamboozled. This is my worst showing ever. Not good for me. Then Lucas at 575. Jacob at 594, at risk of losing this game for the first time ever. Ryan
Lock in
628. I'll kick this off. I played Tyrod last week. That failed miserably. We got Samaje. Pierce was like fine, and Darren Waller. So I did terribly this week though. I'm going with the Shuck Demon. Tyler Shuck is in the lineup. I am playing Omarion Hampton, who looked pretty good. I will say pretty good. I was right on the Vidal is going to be more annoying than I want him to be, but he looked pretty good. I'm taking the biggest risk. I'm playing CeeDee Lamb, who is yet to clear concussion protocol.
You got to take risks.
You have to. But 3 extra days, I think he plays. No setbacks right now, and they need him. He was ranked like wide receiver 77 or something, so I'll take that. And then I don't think T. Higgins and his scrambled egg brain is going to be playing this week, so I'm going to pick Mike Gesicki and hope that he can cash in. I need all upside here. This has to be the week. We'll go with Lucas next.
So for mine, I didn't get too cute with it. But going with Shedeur Sanders off of his best game, getting a plus matchup against Chicago should be a high-scoring game.
Move.
Oh my gosh!
Big
It's somebody was good and has a plus matchup move. That's as DFS as I can make it. Ashton Genty, just because he's not been playing great because the Raiders are terrible, finally falls outside the top 20. Gets Philadelphia, which hasn't been too terrible against running back. So just hoping for volume there. Jordan Addison, who we talked about earlier. And then Theo Johnson, I had to. He was sitting there at tight end 13, just snuck down for me to be able to take him against the second best matchup for tight ends. So I'll take it.
Oh, goodness. Jacob?
All right. Well, first off, on Lucas's Shedeur pick, I just have to say Kevin Stefanski, like, he could not have done more to inspire the worst posters on the internet. Like, first of all, he went for 2 down 8, which is the woke thing to do, but like he did it with the Browns. So it's like you just know they're gonna fail twice and it's gonna not work. And like all of the anti-analytics people are gonna get a win at your expense. And then also like legitimately, like I thought it was such a joke when everybody was complaining about the Wildcat touchdowns that were successful in the Raiders game. But like Shedeur balled against the Titans and the entire game is on the line and you pull him off the field. Legitimately horseshit.
I'm sorry. I like the move.
Hashtag Joe Cena was right.
No. I like the move simply because he knew what he was doing. If an FBI agent was ever going to investigate a game for point shaving or like pick slot tampering, it's that. He did the best thing that he could have done, called the worst play in his playbook.
And the play worked. Judkins just lost his mind. It was a very easy touchdown if he pitches it for what it's worth. But
yeah, I think he was told not to. If you want to, I'm gonna.
Okay, he was told.
I'm gonna join the TikTok conspiracy theorists and say that.
Okay, I thought he was just bad. Okay, I thought I was just mad at Stefanski for giving fodder to the anti-analytics people and the Shedeur fans. Apparently, he also inspired the TikTok NFL is rigged people. He hit the full bingo of all of the worst people.
He's so powerful.
Not just the NFL.
How did he do it all at once?
Not just the NFL is rigged, but Stefanski is actively trying to make Shedeur fail. Is the rhetoric? But like you don't want to win that game if you're Cleveland. You do not. You want the best draft pick possible.
He wants to win. He's getting fired.
I also think that that's a bad idea, but I digress. And like, I posted about this, and I know I've tried to end the show like twice now, but I posted about this. I don't understand the wanting him fired right now. That is the worst possible move you could make for
He's not going
Shedeur.
to get fired now, but I
They
think
want,
he
but
probably
I'm
will at the
saying
end of
the media, the radio, the whatever cultists, whatever you want to say for Shedeur. I started him this week. I've been a buy Shedeur since November 17th officially. Like that worked out really well for me. I've sold for a first 27 first already on a
what?
Yeah. For
I need to
not
go send some offers. God damn.
a not so good team paid for Shedeur, which whatever. I think he's the week 1 starter next year.
Please don't do that. Please don't trade your 27-1.
Just whatever. We talked about sending one away for Luther. Like I feel like that's not as like I feel like it's not the worst thing. I'm just not doing it. I'm gonna.
Can we add Shedeur 2026 week 1 starter to the bet list?
I think he's the starter in 2026. You don't think he is?
No, I don't.
I think he has
I think it's possible. I'm not saying it's like impossible.
I think he has an insane run out. I think that he was Barry's guy. I think if you think Stefanski's gone, they're gonna bring him.
I don't think he was Barry's. I don't think he was anyone's guy. If he was anyone's guy, they wouldn't have drafted him after Dylan Gabriel. Now he obviously has a way better chance of being the week 1 starter in 2026 than Gabriel. And he improved his odds dramatically this week. But anyway,
I could see a world. I just want to point out, I've said this on the other podcasts, not with any of the ones that you guys have been on. So I want to know if I'm crazy. Get Chicago, decent matchup. Buffalo, pretty decent matchup. They give up a considerable amount of points there. Pittsburgh's defense, Pittsburgh's defense woeful, and then the game that really matters, Week 18, the Bengals. I mean, he has the opportunity. He has the opportunity to realistically ball out. I've already put Rookie of the Year bets on him. Because if it's, let's say 3 out of these 4 games, if they win or stay close in 3 out of these 4 games, he throws for like 220 to 250 yards per game, double his touchdown to interception ratio. He's going to get media bets. He is going to. I put a bet in on it.
Who's the favorite Rookie of the Year? Is it Dart right now?
I don't know. It probably is Dart, but for how wishy-washy this class has been, are you telling me that there's not a chance that
Buka and Mourning kind of fizzled?
Yeah, so from weeks 12 to 18, you're telling me he can't come in and win Rookie of the Year?
I don't think he's going to be Rookie of the Year. He's had one good game.
I'm just saying QB wins are not a stat.
Gerald Shannon should be the Rookie of the Year.
I'm just saying there's a possibility. I understand. Look, I think extremism has ruined Shedeur's ability.
I think the extremism is coming from inside the house, Mr. Rookie of the Year.
No. I have been.
McMillan is currently the favorite for Rookie of the Year.
Makes sense.
Wow, Rookie of the Year is woke. Rookie of the Year is woke to the spreadsheets. Look at that.
I have been very objective with Shedeur this whole time, not
Donald Trump will stop that.
But Jesus Christ.
A Samoan name winning Rookie of the Year? Not in my country.
Jesus Christ. My God. But I think you should be objective. People should be objective. Extremism is terrible. It's awful. It ruins everything. Jacob, get these player picks so we can get out of here.
Yeah, my player picks, I'll do quarterback last. My tight end pick is Arondé Gadsden. It's crazy. He went from consensus top 5 dynasty tight end to now I saw him down at tight end 21. Obviously has not been productive recently, but I don't know. I don't think that everything's over for him. He still runs a ton of routes. I think he's still good. I'll pick him there. Wide receiver is kind of just a pure vibes play. I'm picking Khalil Shakir. I think the Buffalo will have to throw in this game to keep up with the most valuable player in the universe, Drake May. And then I also think that Christian Gonzalez is going to take away, whatever happens on the outside, it's going to funnel things. So I don't know. I guess I like Shakir a little bit. And then it's Ken Walker. They're 11-point favorites in this game at home. The Colts' rush defense without DeForest Buckner is really bad. They, in theory, could get him back this week. I don't think that's likely. And then, the quarterback pick, I'm not going to catch Ryan. So let's just have fun. Phillip Rivers, doggone it. Let's do this. Welcome to the player picks. It's going to be a fucking blast to see him back there throwing like this. One of my favorite NFL players of all time. I get a second chance to see him line up in the blue and white. Let's go, Phil.
Jacob just typed GG at Ryan Heath in the sleeper chat at like 4:30 p.m. when he's only down 10 in projection, is what Jacob just did. So everyone's aware. Now I'm terrified that Phil Rivers is gonna dunk all over me and snatch my victory or my defeat from the jaws
He's
of
going
victory.
38 of 52 for 286, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 0 yards rushing. That's what we're getting out of this week.
Yeah, sounds like more than I'm going to get out of JJ McCarthy, who I picked.
JJ's going for 121 and 3 touchdowns because his touchdown rate is just remarkable.
Sounds perfect. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
I took Woody Marks. I don't think we got a Nick Chubb update, but Marks played almost every snap. After Chubb went down, he's like I think he can finish out the year being like a way shittier version of Chase Brown. Gets the Cardinals. They've been pretty bad against the run. Could just play every snap. Kind of like Woody Marks this week. Deebo Samuel, just because wide receiver totally sucks, and I just wanted someone that's going to score me 8 points, if I'm being fully honest. And Isaiah Likely against the Cincinnati Bengals. They've broken records in terms of fantasy points allowed to tight ends this year. It's completely insane. Like if you just look down all the names that they've allowed like 15 plus weeks to, it's
lit up by Dawson Knox, bro.
Yeah. So Isaiah Likely for me this week.
And if by the way, if you're going to make an all-in trade, obviously the best option is just Trey McBride, who's already the best tight end in fantasy, and he gets the Bengals at week 17. He's going to go for like 55 tight end premium points.
I saw a trade in a league. Somebody was like, I'm selling Trey McBride. It's going to be a haul. And it was Trey McBride. It was Ted McMillan in 2 seconds in 26.
Yeah,
and I was like,
I'll do that. I was
like, that's not a haul. Like that's under Trey McBride is better than Ted McMillan at wide receiver. Like I will do that every single time. Kind of crazy. My prediction for that game though, somehow the Bengals D will hold Trey McBride to 10 tight end premium points and the world will explode. I don't think so either.
I don't think so.
But in this season of oddness and a little bit of weird, there could just be like, it's just like the Titans Browns game was it was panned. It was talked down upon. No DFS show wanted to cover it. Don't play any of these guys, etc. And next thing you know, it's like the hottest game on the entire slate. Again, football is weird on any given week. I could see somehow the Bengals D just focuses Trey McBride and Greg Dortch goes for 35 fantasy points or something. I don't know. That's football this year. Hope you enjoyed the show. Appreciate everybody. Remember, leave a comment to when you think I got lost and your name will be entered into a draw. I wasn't kidding about that. We love you guys. Really appreciate you guys riding with us all year. Good luck. Right? Week 1 of the playoffs. May all your playoff victories come full, unless it's against me, in which case, haha, get better, get good, GG's. And we'll see you guys next week. Till next time.
What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.